If you hadn't done this, if you had never gotten on stage, never gotten on television, what do you think you'd be doing in your life?
Uh, Therapist, psychiatrist, something to do with helping people, listening to people. I really am into psychiatry and why we and social, just anthropology, just why we do the things we do. And I think it would have led me to that. I think I would have started as a teacher and realized that is not cut out for me. That's sometimes such a thankless job, and I love my sister's a teacher, and I don't know how they do it. But I think I probably would have gotten into I sometimes think about going back for my master's just so I can have some sort of, because the more my stand-up becomes more and more about self-helpy and kind of, I don't want to always just make fun of everything and make fun of myself. I want people to leave shows laughing, but also being like, oh, I kind of have a solution for that thing that I struggle with, because she made it funny, but also she offered me a tool. And I'd like to have some credentials to back that up when I get on my soapbox a little too much.
But you can make people think. Many a truth is spoken in jest. There's a lot of truth in humor, and you can make people go home and really think with some of the stuff you say.
Yes.
Particularly with your authentic kind of humor.
Thank you.
I mean, you really can make people think. You can give people a little cheat sheet for life.
Thank you. I'm trying. It would have, just doing what would have really helped me at certain stages in my life, motivated by just wanting people to be less depressed and anxious and all of those things that I just know are just such awful places to be, and you feel so just like you'll never get out of them. And I've been there, and I feel like that's like my duty, and also to make it funny, and so that's adds an extra layer of difficulty to it. But comedy is always my first thing.
I'd said to somebody not long ago that when I was in private practice, I was the worst marital therapist you've ever seen in your life, because
Why?
I had no patience for them. I mean, they would come in and I would listen to them talk, and I said, my God, I've known you people for 5 minutes. I can't stand either one of you.
You deserve each other.
And it's like, I can sit here and listen to you for 6 months, or I can just tell you right now, you're an asshole and you're insufferable.
I love that.
So people would say, God, you're so straight with these people, you'll never build a practice. And that's not true. I did, because people wanted to know. They wanted to have somebody tell them the truth. But one of the things that really impacted me is I had so many people that would come and see me that discovered that they were depressed, and they never knew they were depressed until they weren't. They had spent their whole life being depressed, and they never knew they were depressed until they were no longer depressed. They just thought that's how people lived.
It's just fish in water. You don't know. And a lot of times people in relationships, they don't know until they see inside someone else's relationship, like, oh, wait, when you're a kid and you think every home is like your home, and you go visit your friends and you're like, wait, their parents like talk to each other and love each other. Like, what is that's so interesting. I think that I'm interested in the couple. I'm just started going to couples counseling with my ex-boyfriend. Before we decided to get back together, I said, I want to go to couples. We never did it before. He's never really been to therapy, was not really open to it. And I said, I can't be with you unless we go, because we keep getting in these same patterns. And he goes, we're going to go to couples therapy before we're a couple. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, doesn't that mean we're just broken? And I go, no. And I'd use the best analogy to get him into therapy ever. I go, okay, well, so you think we should just know what to do automatically, and if we were meant to be, it would just be natural. And he's like, yeah, kind of. I go, well, then why do you go to a trainer? There's weights and you have muscles. Just do it. Just like, why don't you just do it? And he was like, God, you're good. He goes, fine, I'll go. Like that. He goes, I can't argue with that. Like, I go, we're going to see someone who might have tools that we never thought about. Oh, straighten your back, stick your butt out when you do a lunge. Like, there are things that are just, that we didn't go to school for. And man, is it the greatest thing that ever happened to us. And we don't go all the time. We just go when we need a tune up. Yeah. And it's the only reason we can be together. I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just getting a different perspective too. Having somebody say, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about that? Because it's not what happens in a relationship that gets people upset. It's violating your expectation of what's supposed to happen in a relationship. That's what gets you upset.
Oh, God, that's so good. Expectations being, future resentments.
Yeah.
And letting go of those. And really, for me, it was just empathy. I mean, I was having sympathy for how he felt, and he would repeat his experience so much. And I go, I know that's how you felt. And he goes, you don't know. Really, imagine you're me, the man who's dating a girl, you. And I'm like, okay, now when I'm you, that does feel shitty. And you're right. But when I was you, but I was still me, and I was just on the other side of the room, but I was still me, I was still right. Empathy is something I really was not taught and didn't have expressed to me growing up in kind of a little bit of an alcoholic home. It's just something that you don't know, that you're not getting, and that you think you have, but it's quite different than what I thought I was doing. It's very different.
Yeah, there's so much that goes on that's not obvious. It's not commonsensical. I do a lot of work with law enforcement, and I was just doing some work with some national law enforcement, and I was thinking about negotiation when you're doing like hostage negotiations. People don't realize this, but you're never going to get somebody that's holding hostages for any reason to give up their hostages until they believe that you understand why they took those hostages to begin with. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get them to see your point of view until they understand that you get why they did it. They'll never give them up, not one time in 50 years, until they believe you understand why they did it to begin with.
You're so right. Because when I'm anytime, let's say the hostages in this situation are my boyfriend apologizing to me or us making up is like the hostages being freed, I will never get that resolution to an argument unless I repeat back to him exactly how he felt, honor it, make him feel completely understood that I get what that felt like to him. And as soon as I do, everything resolved. The hostages get released.
Yep.
That is the ticket. That's so interesting.
Yeah. And if her husband's cheated on her, she will never forgive him until she hears him tell her, I know how that made you feel. And this is how that made you feel. Until she hears that, till she knows he gets it, she'll never forgive him.
Oh, what a shortcut. What a complicated thing to do, to be able to reiterate to someone their feelings in a way that feels substantial enough. But that truly is it. That is the secret to any conflict resolution.
That's why I say I don't think problems are simple at all. Infidelity is complex. Why did you do it? What was your motive? What was wrong? But the solutions to healing some of these things can be very, very simple. It's really giving words to your empathy. You just got to know. And sometimes if you don't go get help, you can't figure that out. You're too close to it.
And you just got to be open to the idea that you might be wrong.
Yeah.
You can always, that's the thing that I really had to, you can't let any of this in until you go, you shouldn't go to therapy if you're like, I just can't wait for her to tell him how he's fucking up. Because I know I'm right. I've been that girl before who thinks I'm doing everything right. You got to be open that you might have something to do with this.
Yeah, maybe.
You can always find anything you can always find what you could have done slightly differently. And that also I found is such a good tool to walk into an argument where you know you're right, to start out saying, here's what I could have done differently. And it opens that person that's another difficult thing, is finding the one little thing, even though you were the one that was wronged. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, that's why your comedy lands so well. It's authentic. It's real.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.